In this video, we're going to go over how to use the Analyze feature in the graphing section of your graphics calculator. So as I mentioned in my last video, in order to go forward or in order to do anything that's kind of new, always click menu. So when in doubt, if you want to do something and you're not quite sure what to do, click on menu. If you make a mistake, like for example, if I accidentally clicked on trace, and I didn't want to be in this position right now, then what I would do is I would click escape. That'll take me back to where I wanted to be. I mentioned that in my last video, but it is super important to know that menu and escape are two of the buttons that you're probably going to click most, especially when you're in the graphing feature. All right, so let's say that I want to just find out the values of these two turning points first. Well, I would click on menu. I could scroll across using my scratch pad and click on Analyze Graph, or it's probably easier for me to use the shortcut and just click on 6. And then now I want to find, let's just do the, 6. I want to do the maximum first. So I'm going to click on 3. Now what this will do is you'll see down the bottom it says lower bound. So when I click once, it'll then say upper bound. I've got to drag across to where the upper bound is. And then I can stop there. So what this has now given me is that's given me the coordinates of the maximum point. Because that's kind of in the way, I can click on that once. And then I can drag it with the scratch pad. And then now I want to find the minimum too. So I'm going to go menu. I'm going to click on Analyze Graph, so 6. I'm going to click on minimum, which is number 2. And then I'm going to go from my lower bound to an upper bound. And that now tells me the minimum. Once again, I'm just going to move that out of the way a little bit. So we've found the minimum and we've found the maximum. Let's say that we want to find the x-intercept now, so this point here. Well, once again, that would mean that we're going to analyze our graph. So I'm going to click on menu. I'm going to click on 6 as a shortcut to analyze my graph. And then I want to find a x-intercept. It doesn't actually say x-intercept here, but 0 is the option. So you want to click on 1 for 0. That's the same as finding the x-intercept. And I'm going to make my lower bound and upper bound here. I'm going to click again. And then that tells us that we've got an x-intercept of negative 5.28. Now, the last thing that I want to do in this case is I want to find my y-intercept. So to find the y-intercept, it's a little bit trickier because if we click on menu and then we click on 6 to analyze graph, notice there's actually no option to find the y-intercept. So I'm going to click escape and escape again. What I could do, there's two ways I could do this. So we could go graph entry exit and we could add a relation. And we can add a relation of x is equal to 0. That now adds a line of x equals to 0. Then what we could do is we could click on menu. We could click on 6 to analyze graph. And then we could choose option 4, which is intersection. So if I choose option 4, intersection, now this gives me an option to find intersecting points. So I want to find the intersecting points between the line of x equals 0 and our graph that we have so that I can find this y-intercept here. So now you pick the top corner and then you want to scroll down until you get the intersecting point that you're looking for. And I can click again. So that tells me, I'll drag this point over a little bit, maybe just up here. So that tells me that my y-intercept is at 4. Another way that I could have done that, so let's get rid of this. I'm going to click on the point and I'm going to click on delete. That will get rid of something for me. And while we're at it, let's just delete all of these points so that we've got a blank graph. Alright, so another way that I could have found the y-intercept that in my opinion is probably the quicker option is I would have clicked on menu. I would have clicked on 6 to analyze graph because that's what we're doing. Actually, sorry, my mistake. Instead of analyzing graph, we can click on trace. And let's just click on graph trace. Okay, so notice that down the bottom here, it gives us an actual point. So the point that this is currently at is -1 and 2 and 15.2. So if I was to click this arrow here that's on my scratch pad, if I click across, notice it's going across and it's going up in intervals of 0.3. So if I was just to keep going across, it even tells me my y-intercept is 0 and 4. This is really useful for if I wanted to find like the value of y when x is equal to 1. What I could do is I could go across. Now this is actually going up in 0.3. So because we want to find the value of y when x is equal to 1, this isn't really helping us. So what we can do is we can click on menu, we can click on trace, and we can click on trace step, so number 3. And so it must automatically set to tracing and going up in jumps of 0.3 for x. Let's just go up in jumps of 0.1. That might be what's most convenient to us. Alright, so now if I continue to trace and I go back, okay, so if I click trace, see how now it's going 1.4, 1.3, 1.2, 1.1, there we go. So when x is 1, that tells me that y is going to be equal to 3. I can always just change the step value to suit myself. For example, if I wanted to find what the y value is when x is equal to 100, well, that's going to take me a lot of time to continue going up in 0.1 steps. So what I could do instead, I could go menu, I could go analyze graph. Sorry, why do I keep doing analyze graph? I could go menu and go trace, so 5. And then I could click on number 3 to change my trace step. And let's say we want it to go up in maybe every 10, because that's going to make it really quick for us to get to 100. So now if we go across using 100, because if we go to 10, it's already quite a large number, it's in the thousands. I'm assuming that if we just keep going higher and higher, we're going to get a ridiculously big number. So that tells us that when x is equal to 100, the y value is 1.04 times by 10 to the 6. That's what this notation means. So that's the end of this video, guys. Thank you for watching.